figure out, is this gonna meet all the requirements?
Yeah, and you even saw that, you're like, oh, number 4, we really don't meet all the way. And I'm, yeah, but we told we're blasting this number 8, and that's like a big one. Trying to say we have, and I don't know if anyone knows, like, we had the least secure courtroom in the state. Like, I didn't have locking doors when I started. That was 3 years ago. And I can't believe they didn't have that. I mean, they locked the doors, but when you unlock them, there was no way you stand up and walk in. There was jump over the counter, and you had my staff. There was no stoppage. So at least now we have, like, buzz them in from the locking doors. I've got that actually paid for by the state through a grant my first year or second year. So a little more secure, but now we're going to try to get actually complete secure with the Supreme Court guidelines security committee is what we provide. So that's where we're at. Court's still going smoothly. Everyone's doing really well. Beautiful there. You come in and it's very neat, nice, clean. They are all on a dress code that makes them look professional and look better than the people who are attending the court, which I have to admit didn't happen in the past. I mean, like, previous staff didn't have that attribute. So we've actually had to improve some of the dress code standards. We've been asked about certain things in the recent things, and I've addressed those. Did you get that dress code too?
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm addressing things that come up in my court that I never had. Like, someone asked about a nose piercing. I'm like, oh wow, how do you address that? And I had to go review it. I went and looked at the other court standards, and basically, like, it's super professional as other courts, and it's like no tattoos, no face piercings, no unnatural hair coloring. And so I went through and did all this big long, because when you do a dress code, it has nothing to do with your, like, professional. We have a book. It's a professional dress code thing. It has nothing to do with your sights, like how you look outside your clothes. It just gives you this shoes, pants, slacks, and it's like, well, that's not really what I need. I need to, like, so I actually went and looked up some Supreme Court standards and adopted those. And so hopefully our staff will look very professional, and we won't ever have to worry about, you just don't want to get that image of, like, ooh, that's the township that has those weird people or those unprofessional people or those.
So no hair coloring or piercings?
That is correct, unfortunately.
I don't think that makes people unethical.
I'm not saying it does, but okay, so I have on my judicial code, I have an ethical judicial responsibility to have no appearances of impropriety ever. Okay, so like if someone is doing something in my office, I have to clear it up immediately. I can't, if I know someone who's in front of me and someone points it out and say, Judge, you know me from blah, blah, blah. And I'll tell the other party, I go, I actually know this person. Do you wish me to recuse myself? Blah, blah, blah. I have to make sure everyone is on this bill. And it's a higher level than anybody else. And I have to put that level on my staff too, unfortunately. And that's kind of where I'm at. I don't have anything against that. I have tattoos. I cover them up. It's no visible tattoos. All right? Can't have any facial tattoos, can't have them on my hands. Can't be visible on my neck. But I have tattoos, I have 3 of them. I have a piercing too. Can't see it.
No, I can't.
Actually, it's my ear.
Oh.
So I got that in college. I haven't worn it in 20 years, but
It's still
here.
there.
It's still there. But I can't wear it in court, right? I mean, so there's. I'm not discriminating because I hate those people. It's all about the job and the position, and I just want to understand that. So. Any other updates?
Not to put you on the spot on a legislative piece, so you weren't probably ready. There was some legislation this year that dealt with court fees and fines and how they were going to be mixed and everything. I honestly don't remember if it passed or not. So, number one question on that, I do, and then how that might affect township finances.
So what happened is that there was this really nice judicial section on, it's called the judges statute that was going to be passed. And we are a low filing court in Decatur, obviously, because we have the least amount of residents. We've got an airport and a gravel pit, and nobody lives there. So, we have this one sector of all these people. So we had the least amount of filings here because you can only file in your township. This statute eliminated judges across the state because they think we have too many in certain counties. Didn't affect us any. But what it did is it raised $26 in the small claims fees because we are $26 less than every other county. Yet we do the same case. It makes no sense. Why is our township not getting paid the same? I'm doing the same case in another small claims and they're getting paid 26 more. And that township gets them. So what happens is even though we are a small township, this is where we bank down on this, guys. So $26 across the board extra goes to the county clerk from our office. But every other township does the same thing. So like our little 1,500 cases times 26 go to the clerk. Wayne Township's 12,000 cases times 26 go to the clerk. All 9 townships do the same thing. They equally get split back up to 9 townships. So we're going to make some money down in the township, which originally was supposed to offset my salary and increase, but they kind of didn't figure out that like I'm statutory, it's totally different. It's like there's no way to like increase that fee to get directly to my salary. So it didn't really work out the way judges wanted it to be. I mean, like it kind of got turned around, but we still got our fees, and it's going to help the townships. Part of that statute, though, because we were a small filing, they also had language in there that like you could file in a contiguous township as opposed to your own township. So right now, if you live in this township and you're evicting someone, you can only file in this township because the resident lives in this township. That new statute would allow anyone in Wayne Township, Center Township, or Perry to file here too, because they have a contiguous line. And it would have increased my filings. It would have decreased some of their filings. And what they figured is it would have evened out all these townships, because who wants to go to the township with 15,000 when you're sitting there waiting 2 hours on the docket? Let's go to Decatur. Boom, boom, boom. That's a short case. They got a short caseload, and we do. We've got to go through them quicker. Give them their own docket if they want. Either way, that didn't go through. They eliminated language that was going to eliminate all the small claims from superior courts and make them come to small claims. They figured out they couldn't do that because circuit court is our boss. Like they're statutorily, circuit court is what creates the small claims courts, and they have jurisdiction over small claims cases. So they can't eliminate them from the superior courts because they're the original jurisdiction. So that was this is where legislation and they were trying to make laws, but you really can't do that because that's unconstitutional. You can't do it. So a whole bunch of stuff that was going to help us really never even came through. The 12 judges that were going to eliminate across the state ended up only being 2 judges they eliminated. I don't know if that's good or bad. That didn't affect us any whatsoever, but what it did affect us is we're still a small filing court. I still travel to Center Township 5 days a month to help them and do their caseload so that they don't think I'm overpaid, because I get that from the other judges, like, oh, you don't do anything. So I do that. I go to Center Township and 5 days, actually now it's 6 days a month. So, but it's all right. I'm good with that. I like that. You get a little action up there, man. It's a little more exciting up there. It is.
Thank you, Judge, for that.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks. Anything else significant to report in general, Chief?
From the fire department aspect, the reserve engine that you all approved is in service. We've actually used that for both an engine and a ladder truck, not a ladder truck with ladder on top per se, but ground ladders only. We've definitely got a lot of functionality out of it. We were going to do an open house, but unfortunately with the passing of Battalion Chief Turner, I made the decision and I pushed that back to a time where we can do that out of respect to him and his family, as I felt that was the right thing to do for our members as well. So again, on behalf of the fire department, thanks to the board for allowing us to purchase that truck. As far as the family of Chief Turner, they're very well taken care of in the respect of presented Michael Turner, which is Chief Turner's son, who's also a firefighter with us on the A shift at Station 74 under Chief Key's command. The flag that was flown on his father's last duty day which significantly enough was the same flag that was flown on his passing day. I also presented his mother, which is Chief Turner's ex-wife, that they were still close with, a fire department blanket. So both sides of the family, whether it's the ex-wife that he was best friends with or his son, both were able to get something from the fire department. That's on behalf of the fire department, the board, and the merit commission. So that's for everybody, not just the fire department. As far as the fire department perspective, we are bringing on some personnel that's budgeted, that's actually been budgeted for a couple of years. So we're not adding personnel to replace. They are replacing, but they're one for one. We're not adding anything to the roster. We're just replacing those two positions. Other than that, things are going really well. Our run load's up this time from last year, so that's a good thing, bad thing, depending on how you look at that. But again, the fire department's functioning very well. The fire department's functioning both on fire and EMS way more significantly increased, of a better mental attitude than we've had in the past. So we're doing very good strides to make sure that our people are taken care of. So we couldn't do that without the assistance of the board and the merit commission. So between the two legislative bodies for what we do, thank you. So as far as the fire department, that's really the only thing we have, unless you have any questions.
Go ahead. You're probably going to ask the same thing. Go ahead.
Do you have an idea of what engine is going to be next to get fixed?
So engine 7, you mean replaced?
Yeah.
So in December, we signed the deal for engine 74, which will be done and released, because remember, we're at that 3-year build-out period, unfortunately, for brand new trucks. 2028, because it was a 3-year build from January to 3-year mark, which would be January of 28. As far as replacement, engine 74 will be next. After that, it's going to be a toss-up between engine 71 or engine 73. Now, here's what I'm proposing. Again, I promised the board that I would do my due diligence in making sure that I streamline the budget in the sense of making sure that we keep fiscal responsibility. If engine 75, which is the newest engine, the reserve engine, is in good shape, low miles, kept up, so on and so forth, which they're doing an excellent job of, our maintenance records are up to date, we can very well use that as a primary piece of apparatus to help us save costs. And I'm still on that, okay? So I'm gonna continue that. We do have maintenance records that have been improved. We do have those on file. So going back to your point that we talked about, again, it's all about education, right? So I want to make sure that we get that stuff logged accordingly. So when we go to buy a new truck, Ladder 71 is in that mix as well to be replaced, but we're still kind of figuring out how we want to do that as far as a model per se, whether it's a mid-mount, rear mount, so on and so forth. So we haven't got there yet. Between Ladder 71 and 71 and 73, those are going to be the toss-up. But as far as the maintenance records, I'll tell you, we've done a pretty good job of making sure those are up to date and moving forward. So
Still
that was my promise.
Still like to see them.
We can get them for you. Like I said, I have them on file. I just can't print out thousands upon thousands of sheets of paper. So, but
It's not so much that as those numbers. The numbers.
Right,
I'm
absolutely.
just curious about.
Yep, we can get those.
And in particular, Cindy, that engine 74 was the one that was purchased back and delivered in 2020.
Yeah.
Correct.
So by the time it would get out of commission or the new one comes in, it's an 8-year lapse.
Yeah.
And with that too, when the new engine 74 comes, engine 74 currently would be another reserve piece that we could use as a reserve or backup per se. So then we theoretically, in theory, other than new ladder, engine-wise, pumper-wise, we should not, cross my fingers, should not have to allocate money for a brand new, if that makes sense. I will assure the board and the constituents here in the room that I'm a fire chief that looks at that budget every day. I pinch numbers and I can tell you to the penny where we are if I looked at my spreadsheet. I have things color-coded, and that's just how I am. My kids hate it. That's just how I am. So if anybody ever has any questions, please feel free to get with us. We'll be happy to answer those the best we can.
Have we had any grants go through here lately?
Nobody has had any grants go through. I've applied for a $400,000 grant for fire prevention aids and fire inspection aids. And I say aids in the sense of a fire extinguisher prop. No fire, but it is an FPA 1403 compliant for training and certification through the state of Indiana. It meets the Firefighter 1 standard of training. And then it also works with career centers because I can't put kids in a burn can, but I can put them in a simulated fire. And that's what the fire extinguisher prop does for us. So it works for the community, for community risk reduction as well. And then an I-plan table to help with code enforcement, inspections, and investigations, pre-plans, logistics, things like that as it relates to a plot map, basically, where they can basically have it in front of them. Chief Orange used to have one with the fire marshal here, but those tables are kind of obsolete now. So you got to spend thousands of dollars to get the electronic version. That's what it was. I did receive word today that I was able to get the township $21,000 in FEMA funding from an addendum or an amendment through a grant that we had from a couple of years ago. I was able to write that. We got $21,000 reimbursement coming. That was able to purchase our Zoll equipment for our new EMS duty officer. So the auto pulse and equipment for that for cardiac life support or advanced cardiac life supports in service. So that $21,000 will be deposited the next couple of days. I'll talk to the trustee and Jeannie on that. We're also working on a $900,000 reimbursement that I wrote. So the $400,000 brand new grant, the $900,000 brand new / amendment grant that I wrote, those are still pending from FEMA. We have no control over how fast they move, unfortunately. I will say that both grants have moved through the first 2 technical review portions, which is good because a lot of times if they're not going to pass, they get kiboshed right at square one. We've made it to step 3, which is very good. So we're doing better than we have in the past when it comes to FEMA and the situation FEMA's in. So we are moving forward with those grant funds, and once we get those, I'll coordinate that with everybody, get those in.
Thank you.
I think there's been, Jason, your trustee, you have started looking into Station 2 down there as far as maybe some cost and the whole bit on doing in this whole scope of things that we're doing on this new headquarters. I talked to Rich a little bit about it. I mean, it'd be kind of interesting to see if somehow that could be looped in somehow to get that, to work towards striving towards see what it would look like to revamp that for a maintenance facility.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, sir, that currently, as of today, we have spent the last 4 or 5 days, working days, the administrative staff have went down there every day to make sure that we can find ways to improve the building until we can get to that point. We've thrown out numerous amounts of trash that's been accumulated for the last 15 years or so. It's kind of tucked away in rooms. So doing a feasible habitat study as far as people being able to be in the building, we're improving. It's going to take some time, but you're absolutely right. We're looking at ways to cut costs. And I say cut costs in a positive parameter in the sense of save money, yet get the best bang for our buck to make that building operable again. Because we don't want to demolish the thing and start all over. If it's somewhere that we can either do a wrap job, whatever. We don't necessarily have to go from the ground up. Let's focus on what we need and then advance from there. And that's what we're trying to do right now with the limited resources we have there currently, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Because we definitely don't want to take away that footprint from West Newton, right? All of our fire stations are strategically placed in the proper response area to serve Valley Mills, Mars Hill, and Canby. And the West Newton facility, when it was in service, was great. The facility up by Jeannie Bain's home off of Ratliff, that was a good fire station back in the day. I'm sure Josh used to visit that thing all the time. But at the end of the day, due to attrition and expansion of logistics and even staff, we have to move forward. That's where we're at today with building a new fire station. But logistically wise, as far as a facility, we're doing our due diligence to make sure that if we can save money and do this thing credibly and fiscally responsible with a low impact, that's what I'm going to strive to do. And everybody's aware of how to do that. We just have to implement that. Trust me, I am an incident action plan writing machine. And every day we're going to have an IEP on what we need to do to get that building up and running. So the dental unit that's out front that you see, that's been there for a couple of years now. We're trying to get rid of that. Yeah, there's a little dental unit up there that was purchased. So trailers, yeah. But yeah, again, like I've always said, education's key. So I'll be happy to keep you updated with that process and the progress as we go along.
I have one other question, Chief. So I thought Cindy was gonna ask, but for Battalion Chief Turner, for a celebration, what
Yes.
is the
So,
arrangements?
June 28th,
June
and I
28th.
believe the time is 6 o'clock. I'd have to double check. It used to be called McHugh's, but it's Gallagher's. Can you look real quick, Chief?
I think I sent an
believe
email
it's
out to
6.
everybody a week or two ago.
Yeah, they requested no funeral.
They
So
what?
they requested no funeral. So what we did at Methodist Hospital is, while this was not a line of duty function, we still supplied our manpower out of respect to Chief Turner and Turner family. I immediately at 4 o'clock in the morning on Monday, I talked to Chief Key. I think I woke her up, but I talked to Chief Key, Captain Meat Ember, and we automatically started assigning people to the hospital to be with the family. With that being said, all of our staff did a phenomenal job, and I'm very proud of them, to spend their days off, their after hours, to be with the Turner family. So with that, we did a celebration walk, or a walk of life, so to speak, in the hall. It's an honor walk is what it is. And we did that. Chief, how many people would you say we had? Hundreds?
They said 100.
Yeah, we were lined up basically 2.5 main hallways on the 5th floor, 4th floor, I believe, of Methodist Hospital. So we did that. The family did request no funeral service. So that celebration of life is going to be very casual. They don't want people in uniforms. They just want people to come as Chief Turner would have wanted you to be. The family's very respectful of that. And June 28th at
noon to 4 p.m. at Gallagher's Pub and Eatery. It's Carson and
Thompson.
3100 East Thompson,
Yeah.
3100 East.
Used to be,
over
I
there
always
by
know
Ron
it
Colley,
as
right next
McHugh's.
to where Ron Colley is.
Yeah. And the reason that's there is Chief Turner, that's where Mike celebrated a lot of functions at, including firefighter Turner, which is his son, Michael, his 21st birthday, and the job offer that Michael got when we offered him the job. So that's why they want to have that. But once it gets closer, we can send something else out about it. And thank you for your support during that time as well. We had people working around the clock, included, the battalion chiefs included, to make sure staffing got down to the hospital. I did cover an ambulance for a couple hours one day, so thankfully I didn't have to transport anybody, but
The citizens.
my patient care was, whew. But that's a good thing about this administration is we will step in to cover what we need to do to make sure our people's taken care of.
Thank you.
So, and that's what you're welcome. And that's what we pride ourselves on. So, barring any questions, I'm done.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry you answered that question now, aren't you, sir?
Well, before we wrap it up, I see we have people from Garmong, we have Envoy. Do you guys have any questions for the development team or?
And Karen made it. She got out of the parking
Karen
lot.
made it.
Road rage at all.
She's been back there for a while, but she made it.
We also have our city councilor, Josh Bain.
Hey.
Thanks for being here.
I know you're excited.
This meeting was more exciting than last night.
You spice it up a little bit.
Right.
No.
Do we have any law enforcement in the building? No, that's a serious question. Do we have any law enforcement here?
No.
Don't think so.
Oh, not unless they're just
I'll
hanging
chief
over.
to take
Not
people
unless
out
it's
for
from
you.
the-
Oh, yeah, it's easy.
I can sit there.
I'm ready.
So what are the city regulations about coyotes or in your neighborhood? Like,
Has anyone seen a coyote?
yes.
You got coyotes in your neighborhood.
I actually did.
I think
Oh my
two of my
goodness.
kids have dogs on them.
Seen the owners.
Yeah.
I think that's-
They just saw a coyote in the backyard about 3 days ago. Neighbors, now we're missing 2 cats.
Oh.
2
my.
kittens.
Uh-oh.
And the mama cat has a broken leg, like a broken foot. We think maybe now we're figuring it out, like, she got in a fight, she protected him. And so, I don't know. I'm not thinking about staying up all night, and I'm wind up when it comes out.
We need to pass.
Well, that's why I want to know what's legal.
Can
tonight.
you take them out?
That's why I want to know. That's why I want to know if any law enforcement we're here. We're in the city limits, so I know I can't shoot them.
I think
You're
if it's
outside
on your
465,
property.
you can shoot it.
Inside 465, can you can't do a legal projectile of any kind.
You can't outside 465.
So not even a bow and arrow.
Just get a pellet gun.
Pellet gun.
Right.
Yeah,
I got it.
exactly.
I'm afraid to say that.
Just your friend.
At your next pass.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, well, any other new business?
I want to make sure that's on the minutes.
What's that? Any new business? Anything else to discuss?
Nothing.
If we adjourn.
Hearing no further discussion, this meeting's adjourned.
I'll second it.
Turn her off.
Thank you so much.